Before you diagnose yourself with depression or low self esteem, first make sure that you are not, in fact, surrounded by assholes. Hey, you. I'm Dallas Ann, creator of the Violet Pie, and this is Knitting Myself Together. This is our space where you and I can get together on a bi-weekly basis and just hang out and talk about knitting, life, and whatever happens to strike our fancy. It just so happens that for this season 3, we're really kicking around the theme of the idea of knitting ennui. What that means, what that looks like, how it manifests differently for a variety of different people. We've talked about our past inspiration, what gets us out of it, how we combat it, and all the other things associated. Today, I wanted to talk about what to do when nothing works out right, and you just have to knit. You have to knit and nothing is working, and it's just leading and increasing your frustration, and it's all you can do to not throw your yarn across the room. Or sometimes you do, if I'm speaking for myself. Anyways, before we get there, I wanted to talk about some things that have happened. Some really exciting things have happened. Oh my God. April Showers is now public, out in the wild, and on Knitty. That's right. I got a design published in Knitty Spring Summer 2018. It's very surreal, but we'll talk about that more because it actually ties into this whole theme of what to do when nothing works out right. So again, before we get to all that, I wanted to talk about the knit along, the fog along that's been going on. There is still time for you to join in. If you haven't cast on yet, please, for the love of Pete, what is holding you back? I have some knitters who have finished 2 shawls. Two. Yes, you can do this. Would you join in? The fog shawl is a free pattern. It is designed for those times when you've got a migraine or you're at the end of your migraine and all you've got to cling onto is your terrible brain fog, and knitting will help, but you can't focus on a pattern. The fog shawl is for you and that situation. I even have somebody who's participating in the knit along. She's on her second shawl too. She worked on it while having a mild concussion. I don't recommend that to anyone, but just so you know, it's possible. Anyways, there are some amazing prizes that have been donated by Leading Men Fiber Arts. They have been donated by Knit Circus and also Fiber Artworks, which is a local yarn store in Huntsville, Alabama. She donated some amazing Yoth yarn. So head over to Ravelry, check out the pattern, check out the group. I would love for you to join in and cast on. There is no wrong way to knit the shawl. You can use it with any weight yarn you want. And I cannot wait to see it on your needles. So, what to do when nothing works out right when you want to knit, when you have to knit, when you know knitting will be your lifeline to sanity, but nothing's working. I cannot be the only knitter who has ever had this problem. It's infuriating, and it is so hard to overcome. One of my very first steps is to make sure I'm not using yarn that's cursed. Kind of like the cold open there. Don't assume you're depressed. Don't assume you've lost your knitting mojo. instead of making sure you're not surrounded by assholes, just make sure you're not surrounded by cursed yarn. I have this glorious, amazing silky wool. I can't remember the brand name, but the base is called Silky Wool. It's this DK nubby textured. It is fabulous. I cannot get over how glorious it is, and it blocks like a dream, but it will not become anything. Nothing at all. And it's caked up. I can't even sell it anywhere or trade it anyone for anything. It is truly cursed. I have tried no less than 5, yes, 5 sweaters, and nothing turns out right. I'm about ready to just throw it in the garbage can. I am this close to just pitching it. But it's holding up space in the back of my yarn cupboard. I have yet to completely, what's the name of that thing? The thing where you only keep the things that bring you joy. I'm sure you're yelling at your phone right now saying, it's this. And I can't think of it. Marie something? Anyways, I haven't done that completely to my yarn stash yet. I'm super close. Super, super close. But that silky wool, it is still in my stash because it's beautiful. It's glorious, but it is truly cursed. I have never had yarn that flat out refused to be anything this badly. Generally, I can beat it into submission. But this silky wool is having none of it. Another technique I've picked up along the way is just putting my knitting down. That is so hard. Oh my gosh. Just acknowledging that the design is not working, the pattern isn't working. The pattern may be a flawlessly written piece, but it is just not working for me, my headspace, my yarn, what have you. It's not happening. And just stop fighting it, man. Just give in. Call it quits. Move on to something that brings me joy. And then maybe eventually in the future I'll revisit this, or maybe I won't. Maybe it's just not meant to be. I have this one design that I love. I really want to share it with you. It has all these elements that I just adore, and I'm stuck. I am just plain stuck. I've tried this hem cast off what feels like 35 million times, and it's just not working. It is so disheartening and so incredibly discouraging. And I actually threw this piece across my family room in frustration one evening, and I don't know what to do with it. I've been disheartened, and the sleeves are great. Oh my gosh, they're set-in sleeves that are perfect length with this great tab feature on it. It's a boat neck that has a slight cowly droop in the front. Listen to me using all those technical terms. Cowly droop. Oh my gosh. You get what I'm saying though, right? Anyways, I love this. I love it so much, so much. But it is nothing without a hem on the bottom. I can't just walk around with my super long circulars in it. I can't write a pattern for you that doesn't have a bind off. Can't say, got you this far. Best of luck. Let me know what works for you. So instead, I boxed it up and I sent it to a friend who loves mindless knitting, and she's actually excited about experimenting with different hems, of putting in a lifeline and just trying hem after hem to see what works. And you know what? Getting that off my design schedule, off my plate, off my calendar, out of my mind has been so good for me. I have no deadline for this. I use yarn from my stash, so I don't have a contract with a dyer to feature their yarn in a published pattern. It's just there whenever I'm ready to release it. Whenever the pattern is ready, it's going to be coming to you with the right hem that my friend figured out for me. Because I tell you, just like raising kids, just like life takes a village, apparently so does designing, at least for me. That whole village thing, yeah, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be here without that village. Another thing I've learned with designs and things that just won't work is I need to decide if there's a long-term goal, this thing that I really want to see happen with it. Like with the design I was telling you about before, I don't have an ultimate long-term goal for it. It's this really fun piece that I really want to have in my wardrobe. It feels like a great foundation piece. But I don't have a goal. I don't have anything driving me to persevere and push through. However, April showers, that had a huge goal driving me and pushing me. Honestly, it's what got me back into design to begin with. I mean, we've talked about in the past what was the catalyst to get me into design, but what I was going to design, what my first piece was, we haven't talked about that yet, because even though I've been back to designing on an active, almost monthly release schedule, this piece, April Showers, that was the very first sweater I ever wrote down. I had this pie in the sky daydream, this fantasy of submitting it to Knitty and eventually seeing it come to life on their website. That was my, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be amazing if that happened? That's a someday thing. For sure, a someday thing. And so I decided to take a risk. I reached out to Leading Men Fiber Arts and pitched them my design. I sent them my swatch, which, P.S., looks nothing like what the sweater looks like now. I mean, the basic concept and construction is there, but the elements, oh my gosh, no. I'll stick a picture of that swatch in show notes so you can see what that looks like. Wow. They were gracious and took a leap of faith with me and sent me yarn. Oh, they were so generous. They are so generous. And from there, I just started casting on and trying it out. And it didn't work. The first 3 tries didn't work. But I kept going because goals. And I decided, okay, we've got to change the construction. So instead of going bottom up, I started top down. Got the top half perfect, exactly how I wanted it. Got the contrast band in. And then I started for the bottom half. I finished it and it was terrible. Still terrible. So I frogged it all back. 3 more tries. I was so angry with that piece. It was the most painful birthing process of a design I have ever had. It was brutal. Finally, on I think the 7th try, I completely scrapped all of the texture elements, all of the lace, everything that I was looking for, and just went with your basic stockinette and reverse stockinette. And that worked. And that morphed into the sweater you see today. But you know what? Things didn't get any easier at that point. There were nothing but stressful, oh my gosh, my test knitters were so amazing and so patient and so supportive. It just felt like anything that could go wrong did. And everyone was so patient with me and so supportive, and they just frogged and reknit like the rock stars they are. this is a case where knowing what the end goal was, knowing what I hoped would come from it, saw me through to the bitter end. It doesn't always work that way. Some designs just deserve to be put out to pasture, sent to retirement, never to be seen again because I threw away the yarn in the trash can. I know, terrible person, terrible knitter, but I've done it because sometimes the yarn is just cursed and there's nothing else to be done for it. But this time, clinging to that goal, that dream, that I'm going to do this, I need to see this through and prove to myself I can get it done, that was the best choice I could have made for April showers. And now I've met that goal. I thought that was a pie in the sky years down the road. I figured I'd submit April showers and it'd get rejected, and so I'd try again with a new design. And instead they said yes the very first time around. It just goes to show that making goals and striving for them, you gotta do it. Otherwise, I will talk myself out of things. If I don't have a goal, I'll talk myself out of almost anything. So my mantra has become, the worst they can say is no. That doesn't take away the agonizing over email wording and making sure that everything is perfect and maybe sleeping on the draft before sending it. But seriously, the worst anyone can say to me is no. And honestly, that's not a bad thing either. So those are a few things I do when nothing's working out right. First, make sure I'm not surrounded by cursed yarn. And maybe I just need to put it aside for a while or send it to somebody else to, trigger their inspiration and work together, collaborate, talk about it, reach out to my community, and maybe somebody else, their imagination will be sparked and the perfect coalescence of ideas will come together. And other times, I just have to push through. I know that the goal will be worth it. Doing my best, not giving up. Sometimes that's the best response, even though it might be the detriment to my mental health. Oh my gosh, in the first season, you can hear me bemoaning this super secret fingering weight pattern. You can't see those air quotes I'm doing here, sorry. I'm just bemoaning that and venting a little bit because it's so frustrating. And I gotta say, thank you. Thank you so much. Those of you who have been around from the very beginning, you reached out to me in email or on social media and just encouraged me to keep on going. Because of you and your community and your support that you offered me, April Showers is just as much your baby as it is mine. My success is merely a reflection of your kindness and support. Thank you so much. If you feel inspired to support the Violet Pie, knitting myself together in a financial way, would you head over to patreon.com/thevioletpie and just see if any of those tiers of support fit in your budget? Anywhere from as little as $1 a month all the way up to numbers that I find astronomical. There's something for everyone there. And there's also some pretty great perks, if I do say so myself. So check it out. But you know what? If you don't have the budget for that, if you're like, I either have money to buy yarn to keep my sanity or I have money to financially support you, I'm always going to tell you to buy the yarn. Always. So if you find yourself in that sort of position, would you leave a comment, a review on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen to this? Would you leave a review and just share what your favorite episode is, what you like about it, or, whatever you want to say. That's nice. Would you say it? That way it helps other knitters find you and I in our conversation, and maybe they can join in too. It's all about this building community together. Oh, this has been wonderful. I have missed you. Oh my gosh, I was kind of stressed out about sitting down here and just talking to you about this thing. And I'm so glad I did now. Oh, I feel like I can breathe easier. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of all of this. So, until next time, you keep that yarn moving.